In the desolate realm of winter, where icy winds howled and snow blanketed the land, there lived a formidable goddess known as Cailleach. She was the Hag of Winter, the sovereign of the cold and barren season. Cailleach's origins were shrouded in mystery. Some whispered that she was the daughter of the ancient sea god Manannán, while others believed she was a primordial being, born from the very essence of winter. Her appearance was as formidable as her reputation. She was a tall, gaunt woman with piercing blue eyes that seemed to freeze the very air around her. Her long, white hair flowed behind her like a ghostly veil, and her skin was as pale as the snow that covered the land. Cailleach possessed immense power over the elements. She could summon blizzards with a mere flick of her wrist, and her icy breath could turn rivers into sheets of ice. She was also a skilled weaver, and her tapestries depicted the harsh beauty of the winter landscape. As the Hag of Winter, Cailleach ruled over the cold and barren months. She brought snow and ice to the land, and her presence was felt in every howling wind and biting frost. But Cailleach was not merely a bringer of hardship. She was also a symbol of renewal and rebirth. When the days grew shorter and the nights grew longer, Cailleach would emerge from her icy lair. She would walk the land, her staff tapping against the frozen ground. As she passed, the snow would begin to melt, and the first signs of spring would appear. Cailleach's staff was a powerful symbol of her sovereignty. It was said to be made from the branch of a sacred oak tree, and it possessed the ability to grant wishes and heal the sick. Those who crossed Cailleach's path were wise to treat her with respect, for she could be both benevolent and vengeful. One day, as Cailleach was walking through a forest, she came across a young man named Finn McCool. Finn was a renowned warrior and hunter, but he was also known for his arrogance and pride. Cailleach approached Finn and offered him a gift. "I will grant you one wish," she said. "But be warned, your wish must be carefully considered, for it will be granted exactly as you ask." Finn was taken aback by Cailleach's offer. He had heard tales of her power, and he knew that she was not to be trifled with. After a moment of thought, Finn said, "I wish to be the strongest man in the world." Cailleach smiled a cold smile. "Your wish is granted," she said. "But remember, strength can be a double-edged sword." With that, Cailleach disappeared into the forest, leaving Finn to ponder the consequences of his wish. As the years passed, Finn became the strongest man in the world. He defeated countless enemies in battle, and his fame spread far and wide. But with his newfound strength came a growing sense of arrogance and pride. He began to believe that he was invincible, and he treated others with disdain. One day, Finn encountered Cailleach once again. She was sitting by a river, her staff resting beside her. Finn approached her and boasted of his strength. "I am the strongest man in the world," he said. "No one can defeat me." Cailleach looked at Finn with pity in her eyes. "Strength is not always about physical power," she said. "True strength lies in humility and compassion." Finn laughed at Cailleach's words. "Humility and compassion are for the weak," he said. "I have no need for such things." Cailleach sighed and shook her head. "You have much to learn, young warrior," she said. "And you will learn it the hard way." With that, Cailleach turned and walked away, leaving Finn to his own devices. As the years passed, Finn's arrogance and pride grew unchecked. He became a tyrant, ruling his people with an iron fist. He oppressed the weak and persecuted those who disagreed with him. One day, Finn's enemies rose up against him. They were led by a young woman named Grain, who possessed a magical sword that could cut through any armor. Finn fought bravely, but he was no match for Grain's sword. He was defeated and killed, and his reign of terror came to an end. In the aftermath of Finn's death, Cailleach returned to the land. She walked among the people, healing the wounds of the past and bringing hope for the future. She taught them the importance of humility and compassion, and she reminded them that true strength lies not in physical power, but in the bonds of community and the wisdom of the ages. And so, the legend of Cailleach, the Hag of Winter and the sovereign of the cold and barren season, was passed down through generations. She became a symbol of both the harshness and the beauty of winter, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for renewal and rebirth.